Hey everyone, and welcome back to today's video. So I pretty much have all of my makeup on for the day today, but I do not have any concealer. I have no under eye makeup going on right now because today we're going to go over some different concealer tips and tricks that I have just kind of changed up in my makeup routine. They've been really working for me, so I want to share them with you, and I feel like this is going to be perfect if you are a little bit more mature and you are not like 20 years old with perfect under eyes anymore. As we get older, our under eyes become naturally more dry. There are no oil glands around our eyes, so naturally as we age, we just get drier and drier on the under eyes. So it is very important to kind of always be adjusting your makeup as you get older, because you're going to notice that what you did when you were 20 with your makeup is not going to work in your 30s. It's not going to work in your 40s. It's not going to work in your 50s. You are constantly having to adjust kind of just your makeup application. So I know if you are like me, you are on YouTube and you are watching makeup tutorials and just gorgeous makeup looks by these beautiful girls that are like in their 20s, and they are slapping on concealer. They are baking their under eyes with all this powder. And if you were like me, of course you're gonna test that out on yourself, and then you look in the mirror and you're like, oh my gosh, like I cannot be doing this. This is not for me. I kind of have just adjusted my way of doing my under eyes just a little bit so it adjusts to my age and what works for me and what works for my under eyes at this point in my life. So I'm just gonna share those tips with you guys. All right, so we're all zoomed in and ready to get going here. This is probably not the best day to be zooming in. I just got my eyes retouched with the microblading, so we're in that kind of crazy, dark, flaky stage where it just is kind of like messy. But you know, this is what it is. We're gonna talk concealer today. These are my tips for you guys. So tip number one, always use an eye cream. Now I already applied my eye cream because I always apply my eye cream before I do like my foundation and everything. So obviously I have foundation on already. Using an eye cream is just super important. It's gonna hydrate the skin. It's gonna plump up the skin. It's gonna plump up those little lines and wrinkles around your eye. You do not want dry eyes if you want your concealer and makeup under your eyes to look its best. You need to really hydrate the skin. So the first way that I do that is always apply my eye cream. Now right now I'm using the Skin Medica TNS Illuminating Eye Cream, and I forgot how good this was for under makeup. This has always been a favorite of mine, and I recently picked it back up and started using it again, and I absolutely love it under makeup. The Skin Medica TNS is always one of my favorites for lines and wrinkles. It really helps fight those lines and wrinkles. The TNS has just always been one of my favorites, but this is the illuminating one, and the reason I love this under makeup is because it gives a soft, focused look to the under eyes, and it really kind of illuminates and hydrates, but it doesn't look dry. If you can see on my hand how it gives that really pretty illumination around your eye, that's exactly what you kind of want to do to your under eye. You want to hydrate and softly illuminate that area so that it does not look dry. It kind of hides those little lines and wrinkles, and it just preps your skin for any makeup application. All right, so like I said, I did apply my eye cream this morning, and then I did go on with my foundation and everything. So that's pretty much where we're at the point right now. I do have my foundation on. So the next step that I do is I take a little bit of my facial oil. This is going to be huge again for just prepping the under eye, just giving it a little bit more hydration. I feel like when you add a little bit of a drop of a facial oil just right under your eyes, it just helps to plump and hydrate everything just to the max. And I feel like it always gives my under eyes just such a better look if I just add a dab of oil. So this is just my Marula Facial Oil. I'm going to take a little drop of this. This just comes out in a dropper, and you just honestly need the tiniest little bit. And I'm going to pat that oil between my two fingers here, and I'm just going to apply this right to the dry parts under my eyes, right along the under eye right here. And then I'm going to take my beauty blender, and I'm just going to press that oil just right into my skin. You're just pressing that oil and that moisture right into your skin. Okay, so the next thing you're gonna wanna do is pick up a corrector. Now a corrector is gonna be your best friend because you're just gonna apply a corrector right along the areas or any areas where you have your darkness. This is gonna allow you to not use as much concealer. If you see a lot of the younger girls on YouTube, they are slapping on so much concealer, and as you get older, you just cannot get away with that. Less is more. You wanna really concentrate on just hiding the darkness, but using as little concealer as possible, and a corrector is gonna do that for you. This is the Giorgio Armani Master Corrector. This is just the one that I personally love. I use this one all the time because it's very lightweight. It's a very lightweight consistency, so you're not getting a thick buildup of product. This one's just my personal favorite. So what I'm gonna do with this corrector is I get my darkness just right on the inside right here. So I'm just gonna literally take a little bit, just apply just a light line just directly to those areas. And then taking a concealer brush, I am just going to pat that corrector right into those dark areas. And then I kind of just use my finger just to apply it and push it into my skin a little bit more. And you can see just with that corrector, look at how much just taking away that little bit of darkness just on the inside of my eye. That's all I applied, just a very thin line right on the inside. You can see how much that did for my under eyes, and I'm not even at the concealer part yet. So you really don't need a lot of product. You just want to cover up that darkness, and really I could be out the door right now and not even have to worry about concealer. So you can see why that is just so super important, because you're going to be able to use less concealer now because that darkness is already hidden. So moving on to the actual concealer now, you really want to focus on keeping that area light under the eyes. You do not want to use heavy concealers. You don't want to use really thick concealers. You want to keep your concealer as lightweight as possible, and you also want to steer clear of more matte concealers. The more hydrating concealers, the better. A little bit illuminating, things like that. You really want to stay away from more dry or matte types of concealers. That's just going to emphasize your lines and wrinkles under your eye. It's going to dry out that area, and that's the exact opposite of what we're trying to do. We are trying to hydrate. We're trying to plump the under eye, because as you get older, you get drier. So to look younger under the eye, you want to make sure everything is hydrated. So no heavy concealers, no thick concealers, very lightweight concealers are best. And again, once you cancel out that darkness with your corrector, you should be able to go back in with a more lightweight consistency concealer and just finish up the job. So I'm just going to be using my Osmosis concealer today. You could use any concealer that you love. There's a few that I really like for my under eyes. The By Terry Durably Denseless is one that is very lightweight, very hydrating, and very nice on more mature skin as well. But this is just one that I've been picking up and using a lot lately. I do like this one because it does have that little extra moisture stick on the end, which you can apply to your under eye before you apply your corrector, just as an added moisture. This helps to prime the under eye and smooth everything out at the same time. But I'm just showing you guys some basic tips. You don't have to have this concealer with this moisture stick, so I'm not going to use that today. I'm just going to show you guys what I do with my concealer next. So when I'm taking my concealer, I am just going to do tiny little dots around my eye. Remember, less is more. If you need to, then you can go back and add more. Then I'm just gonna take my beauty blender and just gonna blend that right under the eye area. And I'm using the same beauty blender that we use to press the oil in too, so you're just kind of getting that mixed together, and it's going to help to hydrate and just seal everything in. All right, so we have our concealer on. You can see how very little concealer I used. I just dotted a little bit around my eyes. That is all you need. You do not have to swipe all that concealer all under your eyes to really cover things up. Just use a little bit. Definitely makes a big difference with creasing and caking and having your under eyes look flawless all day long. That is something that I definitely have seen myself, because I have fallen trapped to that myself, where I'm just like, you know, applying concealer like crazy, and then throughout the day I'm like, oh my gosh, like why are my under eyes just so cakey and creasy no matter what? It's because it's just too much product. You just want to use a little bit. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the same concealer brush, and what I'm going to do is just go directly under my lash line and just kind of make sure everything's smooth right under those areas, because that is where I tend to crease. So before I apply anything else, I just want to make sure and lightly smooth that area. So next we're going to set our concealer, and again, if you are watching YouTube and you are watching all those makeup tutorials by those young girls, you are seeing them bake the under eye. And by baking, I mean they slap on so much powder under the eyes, and then they sweep it off a couple minutes later, and that's how they set and kind of like highlight the under eyes. That does not work as you get older. It just simply does not, especially if you have more drier under eyes to begin with. You are just adding all that powder and just making your under eyes just look so much drier than they really need to look. So you really want to go the opposite way, and what I do to set my concealer is I'm just going to take any powder, use any powder you want. This just happens to be my RMS Beauty Untinted Powder. And what I do is I used to take my bigger brush and I really would set the whole under eye with a powder. But recently I kind of switched it up, and this has just been working for me. I'm going to take a little brush. This is just the dual-ended It Cosmetics brush, and I'm going to take the small side. I'm going to get a little bit of that powder onto this brush. I'm just going to tap off the excess, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and apply this powder just along the lash line, because that is where I personally crease with my concealer. I'm not going to apply any powder anywhere else under the eye. I'm just going to focus it only on the area that it needs to, just to keep that creasing to a minimum. All right, so those are my tips for you guys. These are just things that I have just been switching up with my concealer routine and under eye makeup routine now for a little bit, and they've just been really working for me. I am 37 years old. I am definitely not 20 years old anymore, so the things that I've done to my under eyes with concealer and powders under my eyes, I just can no longer get away with doing, and by no means is that wrong, but you definitely want to update your makeup application techniques as you age, as you get older, because things change, especially under the under eyes. You will see major changes with dryness, lines and wrinkles as you age, and you just have to adjust and work with it as you get older. So like I said, I'm 37 years old, but these are the exact techniques that I would use on my mom who's in her 60s, and my mom is scared to death of concealer, but anytime I've done my mom's makeup and have done these techniques with her concealer, she is shocked and blown away by the fact that she can actually use concealer and have her under eyes still look, you know, younger and hydrated throughout the day without that like dreaded, like older looking crepey eye situation that a lot of times we can get as we get older if we're just applying, you know, our concealer in the wrong way. So I hope you guys enjoyed these tips. Thank you so much for watching and taking the time out of your day to hang out with me. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, please subscribe if you're new to my channel. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you next time. Bye.